Georgia O'Keeffe was a famous painter. She grew up in Wisconsin and then moved to New York while she was becoming a famous painter. Later in her life, she moved to New Mexico, which is in the American Southwest. New Mexico looks very different from Wisconsin and from New York. This is part of what she might have seen. Notice the large desert and the large sky and cliffs and mountains in the background. These were all new landscapes for her, and she was very inspired by what she saw. She made a lot of paintings of this type of landscape, and she spent a lot of time focusing on the colors of the sky and the sand, and she noticed how the sky and sand would change colors with the daylight. Here are some of her first paintings of this landscape. Notice all of the detail and light and shade she put in these pictures. Eventually, her paintings became more abstract. Are you noticing that the landscapes are losing lots of detail, but she's still focusing on shape and color? Today we will draw a landscape just like Georgia O'Keeffe would draw a landscape. We're going to make an abstract landscape focusing on shapes, lines, and colors, and we're also going to learn how to make mountains that are darker on the top and lighter on the bottom. So we'll be practicing holding the crayon and using pressure to make a darker color at the top of the mountain and then turn the color lighter toward the bottom. I chose 5 random colors from my box of crayons. Since Georgia O'Keeffe was an abstract painter, you can choose whatever colors you want to pick. You could be random and choose colors blindly from your box, which means you're not looking at the crayon box as you pick out colors, or you can pick your 5 favorite colors. If you want to use more than 5 colors, you can. The first thing I'm going to do is make a circle somewhere at the top of my paper for the sun. Next, I'm going to choose a different color and draw a wavy line going across the paper. Your wavy line could be going at an angle like mine. It could go straight across. That's your choice. I'm going to pick a different color, make another wavy line. I'm going to choose a different color again. And I have 3 wavy lines. If you want to have more lines than this, you can do that. So I chose blue, light blue, and brown as my mountain colors. I have red for the sun. So I will have orange for the sky. I'm going to work top down so that my drawing doesn't get smudged by my hand as I color. Since orange is my sky color, I'm going to choose this one first. I'm going to press harder at the top of the paper to get the brightest orange. I'm going to work all the way across the paper. And as I go down the sky, I'm going to press lighter. You might need to work in sections to do this because it might be challenging to try to color across the whole paper like this, and your arm might get very tired. So to work in sections, maybe only work as far as your wrist can move. So I'm pressing harder at the top to get the brightest orange, the most color on the page. And as I press lighter down the page, more of the white of the paper is going to show through. And I'm going around the circle. I don't want to color inside of it because that's going to be my red sun. If you chose different colors, that is great. You do not need to copy the colors that I have on my picture. So notice that it's much darker on the top and it gets lighter toward the bottom, and I stopped at my wavy line where I will have my mountain. I'm going to go back and add a little bit more color in the middle. So you can work in sections, do the same thing, pressing harder at the top, and then releasing pressure, so not pressing so hard in the middle of the sky. And notice that as I'm coloring this picture, I'm going to be coloring in a right and left kind of a motion. That will make my sky blend a little bit better, blending into the white of the paper. And also it's going to look more natural as a landscape because the landscape's already a wide picture. We're already looking right to left. So coloring right to left like this will make it a little bit more nice to look at. After my sky is finished, I'm going to work on the sun. I'm going to press hardest around the outside of the sun. I'm working in a circular coloring pattern, pressing harder around the outside edge and then pressing lighter as I get into the middle. Next, I'm going to work on my mountain shapes. And I'm doing the same technique I already did before. So I'm pressing harder at the top of the shape. So pressing hard along this curved line. I'm going to work in sections again because this is too big of a shape for me to want to color. So I'm going to work little bit by little bit, pressing hard at the top of the shape. And then releasing pressure, so not pressing so hard as I move down. Then I can move on to my next section. When you're done with that part, move on to your next color. And I'm working from the top of the paper down so that my hand isn't smudging anything. Pressing hard at the top of the shape, and I'm outlining my shape first so that I know exactly where to start once I move on to the next section. And I'm on my last color. When you are done with your drawing, you can take a step back and look at your picture. Are you missing any spots? Is there anything you might need to fill in? I'm looking at this spot on my picture right here, and I think I need to add a little bit color. You can also look and see if there's anything that might need to be blended a little bit better. Today in our drawing, we used color, shading, and space to create the illusion of depth. That means the illusion that there are mountains behind the mountains that are lower on the page. So the mountains lower to the page are closer than the mountains that are higher up on the page.